Good morning and God bless. We are about to get busy. Let us work. If you don't remember who you are before the day starts, the day will remind you of who you were. You think mornings are about discipline, but what if they were about memory? You wake up and you feel off, and let that feeling decide how the day moves. You let your nervous system build your schedule. You let your emotion pick your pace. You let your past write your present. And just like that, boom, your identity becomes a suggestion, not a system. Because if you didn't remember who you were before emotions showed up, I see you all in your feelings right now. You'll be negotiating yourself all day. Warning, this transmission exposes the dangerous gap between memory and movement. Side effects may include emotional indecision that masquerades as confusion, random mood swings that interrupt covenant execution, stalled creative movement due to internal negotiation. What are you actually negotiating about? An inconsistent belief in yourself despite clarity of vision. Welcome to Raw for Epoch 2, day 134. Today, we don't just reclaim identity, we lock it in so deep. Your emotions have no choice but to follow. Are you in your feelings yet? Let's get into our concept overview. Your identity, who you think you are, is a system, not a feeling. If identity is real, it must be repeatable. You cannot say you are something if your system doesn't mirror it consistently. Or you can, but that is exactly who you are. Emotion is not the leading edge of creation, it's a trailing indicator, a byproduct of what you've already agreed to remember. So here's what you'll learn: why identity must be installed before emotion activates, how to systemize foresight through daily action. Yeah, it requires some work. The difference between imagination and remembrance, why routines are spiritual mirrors, not motivational tools. Stop subscribing for $19.99 a month to your favorite motivational speaker. And then how to reset a day mid-drift without needing a second win. That is our concept overview for today. Who's in the chat? Who's in the chat? Where you at? We're talking about locking in identity. Here's a visual metaphor. We call this one the mirror that only remembers movement. Picture a mirror that doesn't reflect you unless you are in motion. So, it won't show you when you are still. It won't display you when you're thinking. It only shows who you are while you are being it. And every morning, you stand in front of it. You're looking, hopefully admiring yourself, but you're waiting. Not realizing the only way to remember your image is to start acting like the person you already decided you were. That is how remembrance works. It's not visual, it's kinetic. It doesn't mirror stillness, it mirrors authorship. Who is scripting your chapter and verse? Identity doesn't arrive by reflection, it arrives by repetition. And every time you skip your routine, you leave the mirror blank. You don't lose who you are. You just fail to move like you remember. Here's my personal perspective. I'm going to call this the cost of skipping the mirror. Here's the trap no one talks about. Once you have seen yourself, once you've imagined who you could be, once you've made the decision in your soul, you don't get to pretend like you're lost anymore. Because that vision, that identity, that blueprint, you saw it, you thought it, you know what you got to do. It's behind you now. You passed it the moment you thought it. Now you're not chasing it. You're remembering it through action. Let me say it like this. When I say, I want to be this kind of man, whatever that is, however I explain and describe it, that version of me is locked into the past now. So if I don't move like him in the present, like right now, which is all I have, I'll feel misaligned. Not because I'm wrong, but because I already know what right feels like. That's what remembrance does. It ain't inspiration. It's spiritual recall. Now, if I don't build routines to reflect it, my feelings will start writing friction. That's what most people call emotion. You still in your feelings? But it's really just the nervous system grieving who you promised you'd be. And of course, I'm just like you. I lived that. Many days I've trained hard. Then I skip some days. Then I wonder why I don't believe in my own potential. I've prayed with power. Save me, God. Then forgot to wake up on time. Then I wonder why I don't feel aligned. I've claimed vision. I saw it. God spoke to me, gave me the whisper. Then I built nothing and wondered why it felt fake. Imposter syndrome, anybody? But I wasn't broken. Maybe a little bit fractured. But the reality is I just didn't move like I remembered. So every day now, no compromise. Before my body speaks, before my emotions vote, before my ego suggests anything, I reinstall the seal. I'm not hoping, I'm not praying to be saved to become somebody. I'm just reminding my nervous system. We've already seen the blueprint. We know what we got to do. We know where we're going. It's time to act like it. Because I don't want a routine that keeps me hyped up and motivated. I want a routine that traps me in my true identity. That way, if emotion shows up, because I get it by feelings too, it can't stop me. Because it's too late. I already remembered. I'm already in motion. There's nothing left to feel except for the consequences of who I chose to be. We're going to get into the Black Book, the system teachings, but let's check the chat. Where you at? Identity is repeated. If you've been with me long enough, you know that I've been referencing the Prometheus ring recently. What the thinker thinks the prover proves. The reality of where I'm at with this sort of philosophy around you got to leverage the thought of who you believe you want to be. You go through the pain of thinking, of having foresight. Yo, this is what I want to do. Whether it's with your physical body, whether it's in your relationship, whether it's with your finances, your career, any success path. Hopefully you're choosing a success path. Once you put the work in to cast that vision, the work of what to do as far as where am I going, done. So in that way, because of the way our minds work and imagination works and foresight works, the future is immediately behind me in the past, but I haven't acted on it. And if I don't, it all becomes just theory and possibility of wonder. It all becomes just fodder to have conversation with and sound cool to in our social circles about what we're going to do. We keep telling ourselves what we're going to do. I started this movement 130 something days ago. I went from 4 o'clock in the morning to now trying to hit more of a mainstream time. Why? I told myself what to do. I got myself up. I put in the work. You make adjustments along the way. It gets you to where you're at. But the consequence is I either do what I said I was going to do and lock in that identity regardless of the emotion, or I neglect what I said I was going to do, and the consequence is I submit to my emotion. I had just a very brief conversation with somebody yesterday. How you doing? I'm blessed. How are you? Life is hard. So I'm sorry to hear that. Life's pretty easy for me. He said, it looks like it is. Yeah, it is. You want to know why? I'm in control of everything I can control. And whatever I can't control, why am I sweating it? I can't control it. You hear this a lot. You understand this philosophically. You can put some language to it and rationalize. All of us are bright enough. But to live like it, massive difference. And folks like that, respectfully, I have less and less interaction with. Why? I don't need that energy. I don't need you telling me life is hard. Of course I know life is hard. Do I need to be reinforced and be reminded of how hard life is? I got bills too. I got dreams, aspirations, relationships, children, things to do. And if I worried too much about how hard it was and how I felt along the way, guess what will happen? I won't do it. That's a consequence. There's consequences to do it. There's consequences to not do it. It's emotional when you do it. It's emotional when you don't do it. The significance and the difference of what we're referencing here is once I have the foresight, once I put it behind me, all that's left to do is act. You shouldn't be worrying about how you feel. So that cliche question of what do you do on the days you don't feel like, I don't worry about what I feel like. I already know what I got to do. I already scheduled it. I already know when I'm waking up. I know what I'm doing when I wake up. It sounds elementary. I know. Have you asked yourself what you're doing on a day-to-day? And then what are you doing on a day-to-day what are you actually doing day-to-day? And what are you doing that you said you would do? And see if there's conflict there. If there's conflict there, then who are you actually being? The person who you could be is irrelevant. You're not being that person. You're being whoever you're behaving as today. That's identity. So really, you don't got to do anything outside of what you're already doing. The consequence is that you shouldn't really expect anything different than what you already get. And if you're cool with that, cool. There's nothing really left to talk about. God bless you. You should pass that off to somebody else. That's a great way to be. That's contentment. But if you're struggling and you can't figure out, man, I can't seem to get over myself. That's because you thought about what to do. You reflected on it. And deeper than reflecting, you contemplated. That's more of what we should be considering. Contemplate. Don't just reflect. Contemplate. Reflect. Action. And then reflect on the action you took and how it relates to the contemplation of what you thought you would do. And then watch how fast you forget about the emotion. And then watch how fast also the emotion changes. I talk about this regularly. Poverty-driven, fear-based, plague-level consciousness. Delighted, love-based, pure bliss consciousness. You might call this the devil. You might call this God. Whatever it is, there's spectrums. There's polarities. You're on one. Well, the worst is you didn't choose anything. Let's get into our black book, but let's check the chat. Where you at, chat? All right. The black book. Memory must be manifested daily. Let's clarify what remembrance really is. It is not an emotion. It is not a thought. It is a system loop. I already alluded to it. Actually, I said it quite explicitly. It's the foresight. It's the action. It's the reinforcement. And that loop must be sealed before your nervous system is vulnerable. The limbic portion of our life. Who cares about the science and the elementary around it? It's fight, flight, and freeze. That's the basic. You have the foresight. You already know the path. You're going. All you should be doing is taking action. And you reinforce foresight through action. You reinforce action through foresight. You keep seeing as you're going. Otherwise, you're blind. Or otherwise, you're walking a path where you have absolutely no clue where you're going. That to me is even more of a travesty. To walk a path daily and somehow realize, I don't really want to be on this path, but you keep going. That's madness. Can you have the foresight to pivot, do a 180, take action, reinforce it, take more action, have more foresight, learn something along the way, broaden your scope and your perspective? That's called wisdom. Wisdom comes through applied knowledge. You can have many of us have phenomenal foresight. Yo, there isn't a person that I can assure you who has their faculties that you sit down and you're like, yo, talk to me about where you want to go. Oh, we're good at that. We're good at also figuring out why we haven't gotten there. Where we struggle is like, yo, why don't you just move? Oh, because it requires some steps. You want to have the foresight. That's the difficulty with being able to see into the future. You can see yourself at the end of the race, but you don't actually want to run the race. You somehow, this is the cliche in the space, the reward is the process. Why? Because you get so ingrained in the process, what you saw as the end goal, it just keeps stretching. And you get foresight off of your foresight, off of your foresight. That's why we talk about regularly here, the apex. I am a man that does what? I am a woman that does what? I identify with what? God, faith, honor, loyalty. I have roles to play. I identify this way as a father, as a husband, as an entrepreneur, as somebody on the mic, in my business, for my business, etc. In my relationships, at the corner store, on the block. But I have the foresight to move in the same direction at all times. So when somebody's like, yo, life is so hard, get out of here. Got time for that. Let's talk about the mechanics of remembrance. In neuroscience, the brain prefers what is familiar, even if it is painful. That is why when you skip your identity routine, your system defaults to older, weaker versions of you. You're not off. You're just operating from a cached memory and emotions. That's how your system flags unresolved identity loops. They are signals, not saviors. If you don't create a daily mirror, your nervous system will pull reflections from anywhere. Content, conversation, criticism, clutter, the dead bodies in your emotional closet that you still don't want to bury. This is significant. You can't elude this fact. If you aren't actively producing a lifestyle, that is conducive to foresight, which really is conducive, you're having the foresight to grow. Why is an apex so important? No one has foresight to go backwards. Not that I know of. You ever think about, oh, what do I want to do? I want to go back there? Nope, you don't. So you have the foresight to say, I want to go do this. When you don't execute, your nervous system, your brain, your consciousness, your soul, and your spirit is like, well, we got to go do something. Let's just repeat what we've been doing. And you look around your environment. Why do I keep seeing this? Why does this keep happening to me? Not a coincidence. That is you reproducing the same outcomes over and over and over. Do the same actions, expecting something different. That's madness. Let's talk about the remembrance system design. To fully install identity as routine, anchor it to an apex priority. You can't remember everything, and you don't need to. Just remember the apex and build the day around it. It's not about boasting. If you don't schedule your day, then you'll react nervously to your day. And you'll just keep submitting to the patterns you have today. So if you're trying to break free from wherever you're at, you're trying to get a little bit further, you got to create the routine. You got to build the day that has the action towards the foresight. That's why we always recommend here, the easiest thing to do is to rectify what you do during the evening to set yourself up for an earlier start to the day. And when you know, all right, I know where I'm going to be at To end my day, I know how I'm gonna start my day. The middle, it can get a little clunky, takes a little while because that's where a lot of our standard routines operate from. And if you're like me, you got a job and you got bills to pay, that's cool. But how you end and how you start can start to also emotionally build how you want to behave through the course of the day. You want to sequence it before stimulus. Your nervous system is programmable. Your phone is too loud. Your prayers, which prayer to me is thought, imagination, foresight, they must come before perception. This is why I believe so deeply in beginning day with prayer or meditation or silence. Your mind gets flooded. It gets overwhelmed. It starts telling you everything you think you need to know. Nothing's happening when you get up early and it's just you. You can clear it. So before perception hits, or the more you routine yourself to come to this level of consciousness, before perception hits, then you could blank out perception. So now you can pray in calm. You can have foresight and plan, journal, meditate, think about, strategize, build your day before the perception of everything that's already happening, which is already just dead creation. It hits you. Then you reinforce it through controlled repetition. What you repeat, you remember. What you remember, you embody. What you embody, you protect. Emotion becomes irrelevant when identity is installed first. You hear it. Repetition deepens the impression. Because that's remembrance. And as you are remembering what you're constantly repeating in your conscious, which we know is 95% of your subconscious flow, most of us are unconscious, you start to embody. And because you need to identify with something, you protect it. When we complain, condemn, compare, contrast, and rationalize our lack of control for the success we see, it's a mechanism of protection. That's also the ego, because we identify so strongly as I. We're the center of everything. How else would we know what's going on? It's natural to protect yourself, because no matter how many times you tell yourself you're not good enough, it's never going to work, this always happens to me, you don't want to feel that terribly about your life. You do come to the realization that, I do have a level of abundance. I woke up today. Thank you, God, I'm alive. I have some food. I'm protected. I got safety. I'm collecting a check. All right, cool. Relative. It's not terrible. So you protect that. You also protect everything you say that you are and are not. So now you have an identity. And if you can identify with the identity first, emotion is irrelevant. All right, there's consequences. Who's in the chat? Who's in the chat? Where you at, chat? Here's the consequences of inaction. If you don't lock in identity before the world starts talking, you'll spend the whole day performing for the world's feedback. You'll seek proof through performance. You'll mistake doubt for direction. You'll confuse fatigue with failure. And you'll let a temporary mood rewrite a permanent covenant. You'll let how you feel today determine who you are becoming tomorrow. And worst of all, you'll forget how powerful you are and then blame the day for making you forget what you never took time to remember. You are built from the greatest image possible, even with all your finiteness and all your flaws and all the difficulties. You are clothed and imaged from the infinite. You just got to get back to soul level. Let's talk about it. How to lock daily remembrance. Script your apex identity in first person present tense. No goals, no outcomes, no someday. Don't put a date or nothing on it. Just this. I am the man or the woman who. Then build a routine that makes that statement impossible to doubt. I talk about the four fundamentals, the four basic laws and principles of the Do You rules. I talk about God, faith, honor, loyalty. God is the apex as far as the infinite. My soul, my faith is before faith. I'm at image level. Faith, I gotta have faith to believe. I gotta see it and know I can see it, and then move towards it. Honor, I am who I say I am. Loyalty, I stay committed, unwavering. So my routine follows that. It's more than the outcomes around what I do for my physical body, what I do for my financial stability, what I do for my relationships that prove my stature and status. It's that I create a covenant around, I pray, I take care of my spirit. I read, I take care of my mind, I empower myself with some wisdom. I apply it, I take action so I can understand what I'm doing and make it my own. I take care of my physical body for the fundamental reason that if I don't, I die faster. I'm also a father and a husband. I got to provide protection. I work towards my foresight. I continue down the path because I said I would. That's enough. Outcomes are the outcomes. They come along like every other outcome you've received today. Now you want to assign every repeated behavior to a remembrance checkpoint. I believe in hydration as soon as you wake up. I pray, I meditate, I drink 4 glasses of water. One of them is a salt water. I love it. I don't just drink the water. I hydrate like a remembered body. I don't just stretch. I move like a sealed machine. Every behavior must echo your blueprint. And emotion must become a diagnostic, not a director. When you feel off, don't obey the feeling. Ask, what did I forget to remember today? And return to the loop. If you have the foresight to build an identity around who you want to be, you can ask yourself, what am I forgetting to remember? And what you are forgetting to remember is who you said you would be. Taking the action towards what you said you would do, how you said you would do it. Let's get into our creation covenant loop. ARR, audit, remix, re-record. You got the call. Now move like it's recorded. We always start with an audit. Significance being, this is our emotional memory recall for our identity. Ask yourself, where did I feel misaligned today? Was it the conversation, the pace, the screen time, the absence of solitude? I love me some solitude and some quiet me time. Trace the emotion. It's not telling you to stop. It's begging you to remember. And you want to hit it with the remix. This is our thought identity. Ask yourself this. What lie did I believe today? Was it something like this? I'll feel more like myself later. Or, it's not that deep. Or maybe you just need a reset. No, no. You didn't need a reset. You needed a reboot. Try this on for a new thought. Who I am is never in question, only whether I'm moving like it. Are you moving like it? If you were being watched, what would that look like? Then you want to re-record. This is our action identity. Do something that reinforces the seal. Say the prayer, lift the weight, record the episode, or go live. Stretch the body, write the blueprint. One act of remembrance. No matter how small, one loop closed in your favor. I can't speak enough about closing loops and how it reinforces positivity for your identity. When I do what I said I was going to do, and I'm where I said I was going to be, behaving how I said I was going to behave, there's closure there, positive closure. Stop asking how you feel. Start asking if you remembered. You're not emotional. You're unprogrammed. Install identity first. Let emotion follow. And move like the version of you already met in the mirror. You own it or be owned by it. You either run the system or the system runs you. Change your mind, change your life. I am who I say I am. Do you and stay rich.